Newcastle County's tax rate will remain stable next year, and that's just one of the issues that we're going to discuss with Newcastle County Executive Tom Gordon, who joins Nichelle and me as our first person this week. So, Mr. Gordon, let's talk about the budget, which we're so used to hearing about budget shortfalls, and this time we're talking about a $8 million surplus. So what happened here? Were there factors that contributed to this surplus, or are we seeing the economy rebounding?
No, I don't think you're seeing economy rebounding. What you saw was we held back about 120 positions. You saw a tick up in transfer taxes, I mean a little bit of an increase, and some great cost savings on benefits and risk management. It's created to a couple $1 million. So it all came together to create a surplus, which, you know, in the future years, I can tell you it's going to be tough. We're not going to do a tax increase. I don't think anyone in the state should be doing a tax increase when the economy is really teetering upon crashing again. So we made an effort to say we're not going to raise taxes. We're going to take it out of the budget, and we're going to shrink the government if we have to.
So you called for the introduction of some new programs. One, the heroin education program. Right. Is the heroin situation really that bad in Newcastle County? The
heroin situation is terrible in Newcastle County. It's an epidemic. If you talk to relatives or friends, you're going to find somebody is on either a prescription oxycodone, which is heroin, or actually heroin, which is a lot cheaper than any prescription drug. In fact, it's so cheap that usually the drug dealers will give it out for the first time free. Now, what you need to know about heroin is, when I was a police officer many years ago, heroin was about 17% pure. You could get on heroin a couple times a week, 2 weeks, month. It wouldn't be addictive. It is so pure that if you take heroin one time, you're addicted for your entire life. That means your entire life you wake up wanting heroin. It is a fight. In rehabilitation, it's about 7% cure. So if you know anybody, and we're finding it everywhere, school parking lots, and it's so prevalent. It'll be a little packet. And many people don't know, many of these kids don't know they're taking heroin. But it's got teeth. It actually changes your DNA. It makes you call for that drug every day of your life. If you talk to a recovering heroin addict, they want that high for the rest of their life. And many of them relapse. And we're seeing it cropping up in all areas. But it's either in prescription form, it's called oxycodone, which is heroin, or it's just street heroin, and it's 5 or 6 different brands. They're different colors, but they're all very pure. And it's unique to Delaware that it's 85% pure. It's coming right from Afghanistan. And it's always been pure in Delaware. And what happens a lot of times, we get a lot of overdoses, a lot of death, because a heroin dealer will go off it and maybe be off it for 6 months, and they were at a level that to sustain them, they come back on that very level, but it's so pure, it stops their heart.
So knowing that it's that addictive, do we need more than just an education program?
We need everything. We're going into the schools. We asked for $500,000 to do an educational program to get through these kids who are out partying. They may take marijuana, they may take a drink, and then somebody puts this in front of them. They really don't know. They're high, they're having fun, but they really don't know they've changed their life forever. They've made their families feel the pain for the rest of their life, and they're going to have a heck of a time trying to stop. And nowadays they put on Suboxone, methadone. It's harder to get off of those two things than it is heroin. I mean, there's no cure for this, and it's very tough.
You know, I don't know if it's your law enforcement past, but that you share with Mayor Williams, but you've had this tight connection with Wilmington Mayor Dennis Williams. Do you think there's more, or is there more that the county can do to help abate the gun violence program within city limits? We're
doing that. The mayor is doing a very good job with his police department and the new chief, and Chief Cummings, or acting chief. The numbers from last year are way down. We don't want to brag too much, but the county in the task force, Attorney General's office, and DEA, everybody, state police, are doing tremendous things that you're not hearing about. Right now, there's a task force inside of the city working today on picking somebody off that's doing the shootings. They've had great results. So what we can do is help the city get back, what their fine police department get back to controlling it. And we can, from the county, it's all the heroin trade. It's all coming from the county. So we're going after the users. And then you saw the Lancaster Court, Lancaster Pike arrest. We're doing a whole lot more of that. So that if you come in the city to buy heroin, we're going to end up probably taking your car and going and see if we can take your house and put you in jail. and that's going to continue. So I think we're going to stop the heroin. But the problem is, there's such poverty in the city. If we don't replace it with jobs, we're going to be fighting this forever.
You mentioned the interim Chief Cummings of the police department, but former Wilmington Police Chief Christine Dunning, how is she doing now as the county's chief of HR?
She was an excellent chief, and she's doing a fabulous job. I saw the opportunity. She is a very bright person. I mean, when you run a police department, imagine every 320 officers. They all have problems. They all carry guns. They're at high risk. If you can manage that, because I did it before as chief of county police, I knew that she had tremendous talent, and put her in charge of the entire county, and she's doing fabulous work. It's probably the less stressful. She said her first weekend when she heard the police siren, she didn't have to wake up, and she had a very relaxing sleep. She was under a lot of stress running that police department, as is any police chief, and we're very happy to have her. She's an excellent personnel worker.
So switching gears, you've talked about, or you've been talking about revamping land use regulations. For those who do not follow county government, what does that mean to them? We
regulate probably 2/3 of state land use, and it's gotten out of control. Everything was, when I was here last century, I like to call it, we created a code called Unified Development Code. Well, they made so many exceptions to it that there's no real code. And anybody can build pretty much anywhere without any rhyme or reason. We got issues with workforce housing, so we have to tackle the entire thing. So we hired what I think is to be the premier expert in the country, Eileen Fogeltree, and she brings with her a whole arsenal of consultants and information on how to get it right. And we're working with all the communities, all the businesses, all the developers and attorneys to try to figure out very quickly how to come up with a predictable code that's fair and equitable. And at the same time, we're dealing with, I talked earlier about the economy in this country is dying and this state is dying. We're trying to do something in the economic development to see what it is. If you look at today's paper, there's a spread about the DuPont company. Well, the DuPont company was Delaware. They made everything from 1900 till now, and they left pretty much in large numbers. And we're suffering from that. So we really have to decide what our competitive advantage is in this state to attract manufacturing. If we can. Well, otherwise it becomes a service economy, and service economies don't buy houses or pay for car payments or raise a family. And the challenge is dawning, because I believe that this country, which I'm told today grew at 0.001, it only did well in the last couple of years because of stimulus. We're buying our own. And it's like the country's on heroin, and the state is suffering tremendously.
I'm sorry. You can finish. I was going to.
We've got serious economic problems facing us, and this country, the only people making money are the corporations, and they're not sharing. Corporations are not sharing with the middle class. They're collapsing the middle class. So you see all this great energy coming back in this country. There's nobody making the money but the energy companies, and that's a real problem.
Real quick, what's the latest on the Barley Mills development?
Well, we won the case in court. We've had one meeting with the community and the developer, and we're going to try to come up with something that everybody can live with, and it doesn't destroy the geographic location or the appearance of that whole area.
It's been said you're very close to Attorney General Beau Biden. Would you consider you close with?
I would say I'm close with Beau Biden.
Did you know that he was going to forego the run for the attorney?
Was
that announcement a surprise?
I disagreed with him. I think he should have stayed where he's at and then run. But he made a choice, and that's his choice. But he's running for governor, and he didn't want to tell the people that he was going to run for attorney general, spend 2 years, and quit. So it was just a political choice, and he decided to do that.
So you weren't surprised?
No, we had talked about it. I was trying to talk him out of it.
Was it because you wanted to run for governor? In
no, he's going to run for governor. I wanted him to stay in office and run for governor. So he would spend 2 more years as attorney general after the election and then run for governor.
Okay.
He wanted to quit and run for governor. We were both on the same page.
But you never wanted to, in other words, have
I'm going to support Beau Biden.
Okay. I think when Beau runs, he's going to have to kind of come clean about what's going on with his health. Have you spoken to him about how he's doing?
I spent an awful lot of time with him because he's been very much involved with the Wilmington problem. I mean, days in my office with him or in his office. And he had some issue that but what I saw was, other than the haircut, he was very sharp and very alert, and was well on a way to helping solve this problem. So I didn't see any stigma. I do think he didn't want to run for AG and promised people he'd stay 4 years and look like an opportunist. But I disagreed with him. But I don't think he has an issue.
Well, we're going to end things on a lighter note, and we're going to have a little fun at your expense. You know, during
Right.
your budget address, you had some flubs with the teleprompter. Not everyone can do it. But before we wrap up, we thought we'd have you read a little bit of the prompter as you close out our interview. So I guess we're going to have you read, look into that camera, and go for it.
That's our first person segment. We thank Tom Gordon for his time. You can watch this segment online at newswork.org/Delaware.
Bravo.
Well, see, I have a great team here. You guys can come to my next budget address.
Okay.
But what I saw was a blank screen that said break, and it wasn't supposed
just
to be
threw
on the
you off.
screen. They put the speech in the teleprompter. But when it said break, it stopped.
Well, thanks for being a really good
So
sport.
you see, I can read.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can. You can. Good
Thank
job.
you all.
A+.
Thank you.